inside.
It's Walt in New York City because Matt Bellamy from Muse is sitting right here next to me. What's going on, man? Good to see you.
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good. So, I had the thrill of my life this morning. I had a chance to listen to the whole album, Drones, which is out on June 9th here in the States. Wow. You had said that, or I'd heard that this is going to be a rock record, and you actually delivered on that. Was that the intent going into it?
Oh, yeah, for sure, yeah. Yeah, the band started out, guitar, bass, and drums, real stripped down, pretty basic, and but as we made albums, as we developed, we kind of brought other elements in, like pianos, orchestral music, electronic music, program drums, and by the time we got to the sort of fifth and sixth album, we were actually producing the albums ourselves, We almost kind of like let go of our instruments and just became producers, So we kind of felt like that had gone far enough on the last album. So on this album, we had to kind of sort of forget all that, get back in the live room, get a producer in, obviously Mutt Lang, to kind of take care of things, and so we could just focus on playing our instruments again and being like jamming as a band again. So that we knew that would obviously create a sort of more of a rock album.
Right. Was that refreshing? Was it a really good feeling to go like, you know what? I just got to play my guitar like I did when I was a kid.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great to be back in a rehearsal room together like that. Just making all decisions based on how you're playing rather than like clicking on computer screens, and things like that. So it was nice to, and also working with Mutt Lang was great because he's come from that generation where he's used to working with people,
right before there was technology.
Yeah. And when you're working with people, you have to work with their flaws or the fact that they make mistakes, and you have to keep correcting things, doing multiple takes and all that kind of stuff. The process is a lot harder, but it's worth it because I think you end up with something that sounds a bit more, human,
organic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Which kind of is in line with the theme of the album. Tell me a little bit about drones.
Yeah, it's I just got interested in drones technology, a few years ago. Started reading about it, reading about what the CIA were doing in Afghanistan and East Pakistan, the deals they're doing with the Pakistan government, and it was kind of amazing, really. There's a book called Predators: CIA Drone Warfare Against Al Qaeda that just really sort of caught my attention, and it got me thinking about just modern technology, really. And then at the same time that we were recording the album, I was going to this place called D-Wave, which is basically a quantum computer company that are creating sort of first steps towards real artificial intelligence, So, and then I was reading about things to do with autonomous drones, the fact they're trying to sort of talk about the ethical, consequences of creating drones which make their own kill decisions, and I just thought the whole thing sort of seemed like an interesting topic, and a real sort of sign of our times that we live in, that how far technology's come and how far it's and how much it creates distance, I think, between people, essentially, and I think that's kind of, I guess, the theme of the album, and drones just seem like a really sort of good metaphor to use throughout the album. So I use that word all the way through, but I use it to mean different things. I use it singing about people, brainwashed people, or people that have no emotion, people that have no feelings, people that behave like machines. And I guess throughout the whole album there is this kind of battle of the sort of human soul trying to fight against the oppressive forces of machinery.
Absolutely, and as I was talking to Dom in The Handler, I think you can actually hear that struggle. You can hear it turn where that's the pivot point.
Exactly right.
Yeah. And you mentioned you talk about drones throughout. The last piece is a vocal piece. How did that come about? It's very orchestrated. Wait till you hear this album. It's going to blow you away.
Yeah. Well, the last piece is actually based on a religious piece of music by Palestrina, an Italian composer, and from the sort of 16th century, I think, or something around that time. And it's a very, very religious piece of music, But obviously, I changed the lyrics to be all about modern technology, and the dangers of being killed by drones and things like that. And I just thought that was a really quite a sort of disturbing juxtaposition,
And it ends with an amen.
Yeah, exactly. End on a sort of mysterious religious note, amen sung by,
Now, the story, when you, because I've heard Dead Inside, I've heard Psycho going into this, but now that I've heard the entire album in sequence, it all makes even more sense than the songs do taken out of context. I mean, they're fine on their own, but when you hear the whole story, was it hard to piece the story together, or did you go, I want to tell the story of this guy, and then he's going to go through these stages?
Yeah, originally, Mutt Lang was quite influential in that area because he picked up on some of the concepts and the themes that I was talking about, and obviously drones and everything, and he was actually sort of saying we should, try and make this have a bit more of a narrative structure to it, And originally, actually, I had the album sort of the other way around, really, where it kind of started off quite uplifting and positive, songs like Revolt and Defect and stuff, and then kind of went on this very dark journey of sort of like a person losing themselves and eventually becoming a robot towards the end.
Wow!
But in fact, we thought that was too jaded, So we actually ended up working working the narrative the other way around, where essentially you start off dead inside at the beginning, the sort of person going on this journey of losing themselves, but being kind of dead inside, I guess, and staying in that sort of lost state for like 3 or 4 songs, and eventually sort of discovering themselves. And around about the JFK speech is kind of where the sort of transition. Well, as you said, in the Handlers, where it starts, and then JFK's real transition into Defector, where the person kind of discovers their own inner strength and their ability to stand up for themselves, I guess.
Yeah, I noticed in Revolt, I could actually hear like the sound of hope, for lack of a better term. You can definitely hear it in the music. I mean, the whole story evolves, and then you hit the globalist, and it's just an epic piece.
Yeah. I mean, to me, there's actually 2 narratives on the album. Really, there's like the sort of the story that starts on Dead Inside and ends with Aftermath. So like sort of person loses love, loses hope in himself, and then sort of goes on this dark journey into brainwashing, discovers inner strength, and then rediscovers love again on Aftermath. And that's kind of like a one story. Then Globalist is kind of the same story but with a bad ending.
Right.
So and so that's kind of person that sort of loses hope but just stays there. Doesn't ever sort of find the strength to come back. So it's kind of it's not it's just got lots of layers to the album. Because there's two sort of parallel things happening really. You've got the story of an individual going through a sort of internal battle, and as I said, eventually discovering it in his strength. But at the same time, you've got this kind of battle between sort of humanity and technology, sort of on a more sort of social comment type level. I'm sort of all the way through the album trying to get those 2 stories to kind of exist at the same time.